Tim Osman and his Infinite Plane Society are the leaders in looking at what they call predictive programming. They're the tip of the spear. They're the front of the pack. And they believe they can make accurate predictions of the future. The people who believe in predictive programming are very good at finding these coincidences, these connections between the news and pop culture, such as movies. And this is one of my favorite topics in the whole world, is these coincidences. The difference, or one of the differences between me and the predictive programming people is that I'm also interested in coincidences in our own life, in our real life, because most likely you've experienced this stuff before. Coincidences that just seem too out of this world to be merely coincidences. Probably you've experienced this kind of thing before. I know I certainly have. So I'm very interested in this topic, and I have been for quite some years now. I'm also interested in these coincidences between the news and the pop culture and what have you. So the predictive programming people, they seem to have more of a narrow focus just on the pop culture and news coincidences, but that's okay. I still get some good stuff from them. And probably my two favorite at the moment are Tim Osman and his IPS think tank, and also a guy called Calcified Lies who has a YouTube channel. Those two platforms or outlet, the IPS and the Calcified Lies, I've found a ton, or I've learned from them, I've heard from them a ton of these fascinating coincidences between pop culture and the news, and even how they can sometimes relate to real life. For example, the Twin Towers and 9/11, the Millennium Hilton, like those are or were real life things, and then how do they seem to connect to the pop culture and what have you? The interesting thing is that Calcified Lies is convinced that I'm a paid government operative sent to cause him trouble somehow. And then Tim Osman and his IPS, a lot of people involved in his think tank, they're also convinced that I'm some kind of nefarious individual, an agent or a government operative, or maybe just some kind of prankster troll dude or something. I don't know. The point is, these two platforms that I've gotten so much good stuff from over the years, they are convinced, or some of their people are convinced, that I'm a bad guy. And sometimes they even say bad things about me too. Like, Calcified Lies has said some bad things about me and written some bad things about me. And then over at the Infinite Plane Society think tank, some of the people there, like in the comments on the live stream, in fact, I've got some evidence we'll look at later, some of them are convinced I'm a bad guy as well. It's really quite bizarre. But my logic is, and has been for a long time, I'm not so much worried about the individuals, the people. I'm interested in the information. And so hopefully, if you're a viewer of my YouTube channel, you're the same way. You're not really interested in being angry or mad at somebody, or even if there's someone you don't like, it's still the information that you are assessing. It's the information that really matters. In terms of, does this person like me, or do I like this person? Do I like the sound of their voice? Do I think I'm part of some movement? All of this juvenile crap. Hopefully you're beyond that. I hope so. At least most of you. But even to all of my hate watchers, and I'm sure there's some of you watching this video as well, I want to tell you, I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you're there. And I truly do wish the best for you. Even if you hate me, even if you're stewing right now, you're cooking right now, stewing, just waiting for JLB to say something for you to get mad about, that's okay. I still like you. I still appreciate you. And I want the best for you. Yeah, boy, Shimona. Alright, enough about all of that. Let's get on with this IPS and JLB Twitter discussion on my predictive programmings. This is from about 38 minutes into IPS, into Tim Osman's latest stream. We're going to play a section of this, and then we will go through the information. Before we get to that, though, I need to tell you something very important. Tim Osman does his best work on the Bonversations, and you can access this Bonversation, his most recent appearance on the Bonversations. I'm going to put a link in the comment section below, in the pinned comment below. You're going to find a link to this here Bonversation, which you can stream or download via Podbean or Spotify or whatever you like. It's available for free. Go and check it out. Tim Osman does his best work on the Bonversations, and I defy anybody to prove me wrong. He's actually been on 5 Bonversations. Can you believe that? And the latest one may be the best of the lot. It's actually from a little while ago. We're already coming up on a year. Boy, the time does fly when you're having fun. Go and check this out. Link in the pinned comment below. So I'm going to play you a clip from Tim Osman's response. But first, what's the background here? So there was a tweet from a Synchro Morpheus. Let's zoom in here. Just zoom in so it's a bit more clear what's going on. Synchromorpheus, the Twitterer, who's also very good at finding connections, I have to say, he wrote this on Twitter about 24 hours ago. He wrote, I have a theory that all the over-the-top, undeniable predictive programming we've found for this event, this is the Charlie Kirk event, will ultimately be used to support the idea that we're living in a simulation leading to some kind of reset. Hard to imagine what that could be. And so I've responded, how can it be undeniable? This undeniable predictive programming, how can it be undeniable when you still haven't identified a clear suspect or a clear motive? So suppose you notice that in the film Heads of State, a character named Kirk, who is a politician, is shot in the neck and collapses, not dissimilar to the way that Charlie Kirk's collapsed after being supposedly shot in the neck. So you notice, similar name, okay, similar profile, a political profile, similar cause of death, and one is my Charlie Kirk's and one is my Kirk, the Vice President in the Heads of State. So you notice this thing. And to some people, well, this is predictive programming. Some people, some humans have intentionally done this. They have planned to put this in the movie with the name Kirk, all the apparent similarities. They've done it intentionally because they want to predictive program people, right? To some people, that's the explanation. And they might be right, at least in some cases. What I'm saying is, how can it be undeniable when you haven't identified the suspect? Like, who did that? If that was intentional in Heads of State 2025, then someone did it. So who's the person? Was it the director? Was it the screenwriter? There's only so many people involved in the production of a film. So have you gone through the list of potential suspects and identified which one did it? Do you have any evidence? No, you don't. And then the motive. What is the motive for this? When you're trying to find out who was the person who broke into the bank, the motive is probably pretty straightforward. They wanted to steal the money. Or when you're trying to determine who was responsible for someone getting killed, well, maybe someone had a beef with this person, so they wanted them dead as part of revenge. Or maybe this person stood in the way of a business plot, and so they wanted to kill the person for their business or political ends. They have a motive. You guys understand the idea of a motive. Well, what would be the motive to intentionally put in a Kirk character with the shot neck collapsing in Heads of State 2025? What would be the motive? That is my question. And so until you can explain who is the suspect, not just some, oh, they, who's they? Who is they putting this stuff in the movies? Who? Tell me who did this, please. And if you can't do that, then you don't actually have a suspect. And that's fine, just be honest about it. And then, the motive, why are they doing this? I get all different kinds of answers. Oh, they need to put this stuff in the movies to emphasize the political ends of the news. The news they're trying to convince. What the hell are you talking about? Tell me who is the suspect and or the motive. Without that, how can you say that the predictive programming is undeniable? Now, that's my opinion, folks. I could be wrong, or I could be missing information. That's where you come in handy. You let me know in the comment section below. So anyway, Tim Osman has done this stream, which we'll get to in a moment, or it's a premiere of a video, and he also posted this on his Substack. Did JLB Strawman Predictive Programming Analysis. So he puts the word strawman in his title. Very clever. I like it. The curious thing is that he writes, the synchro mystic will say there is no way such a huge event could be scripted. What's synchro mystic? He's writing an article about me, so the implication he's talking about me. When did I say that I'm a synchro mystic? In this entire Twitter conversation that I had with him and with Synchromorpheus last night, this Twitter back and forth, I didn't even mention synchromysticism. Not even once. In fact, all I really did was ask these guys questions about this idea they're putting forward that they've somehow cracked the code and now they know that all of these coincidences are done intentionally by some nefarious group. I'm basically just asking them questions. Not putting forward any idea about synchromysticism. So he says that the synchromystic, maybe he's talking about me, maybe he's talking about someone else, either way, it's actually nothing to do with me. He says that they will say, whoever they are, there is no way such a huge event could be scripted. I haven't said that. I've been clear from the beginning. Charlie Kirk's could have been scripted. The whole thing could be a hoax. Why not? That would be a drop in the bucket compared to 9/11, okay? Like, yeah, I get it. University campus, potentially hundreds or thousands of so-called witnesses. If it was fake, why hasn't someone told us? I get all of that, but that would be nothing compared to my 9/11s. So if you can pull off a story of planes hitting buildings at 500 miles an hour, a couple hundred meters above sea level, and get away with it, then why couldn't you get away with a shooting of some guy at a university campus? Of course they could. So this line here, the synchro mystic, whoever that is, will say there is no... Who said that? No one said that I know of. This is completely make-believe. So there's a certain irony in that he's put this in an article called Did Yale Be Straw Man Predictive Programming Analysis? Well, who's doing the straw manning here, folks? Who's doing the straw manning here? I don't know anybody saying, at least in the conversations I've had, that there's no way such a huge event could be scripted. Who said that? Show me the video, show me the audio clip, show me the text. Who said that? It wasn't me. It was nobody to do with me. And who is the synchro mystic? Is there a single synchro mystic? Who are these people? This, to me, folks, is a complete straw man. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And it is ironic given the title of Tim Osman's post. And you'll also notice that in Tim Osman's stream, the premiere, which I'll link to in the show notes below, he uses the word simulation dozens of times. And he often does this. Whenever someone challenges predictive programming, he'll start describing the skeptics of predictive programming as simulation theorists. And he and or his friends at the IPS, they'll say that I'm a simulation theorist. Again, this straw man thing, there's an irony here. I'll link in the pinned comment below to this JLB Late Night Truth Lounge, available for free, stream or download at Podbean, Spotify, all the rest of it. This one's called Sim Theory Exposed. And what I do is I read Nick Bostrom's paper. I go through Nick Bostrom's paper, the seminal paper from 20 years ago, where he explains simulation theory, or the simulation hypothesis, the reasons that he has for thinking that we might be living in a so-called simulation. So I go through the paper, and I explain the parts that I like about it, and the parts that I don't like about it. That is, the things about it that make sense to me, and the things that I think probably don't apply to this reality that we live in. So I'm open-minded to simulation theory. I'm not against it. It's kind of a cool theory. But I don't subscribe to it. And I certainly don't try to encourage other people to believe that we live in a simulation. Don't take my word for it now. Go and check this out. This is from the end of 2023. So that's, again, time's flying, man. That's almost 2 years ago now. Crazy stuff. So if anybody ever tells you, oh, JLB, or these skeptics of my predictive programmings are simulation theorists, you might want to ask them, what are you talking about? What's your evidence for that? When did they say that? Because that's what it's about, right, folks? It's about evidence, yeah? That's how you got into all of this. You wanted evidence. You wanted your beliefs to be based on evidence. Well, when someone tells you something that you don't have evidence for, why would you believe them? If somebody says to you, oh, those people who don't believe what we believe, they're simulation theorists. Well, what happens if those people being accused of being simulation theorists have released publicly available material where they explain precisely why they're not simulation theorists? What happens then? And as for the sync books, I have read the sync books, and I do recommend people check out the sync books if they're interested in these coincidences in real life or on the screen. I don't think Tim Osman has read the sync books. I don't think any of his people have read the sync books. And that's fair enough too. Everybody's too busy, right? Everybody's spending, 5, 6, 7 hours a day on their smartphones. They're listening to streams hours and hours a week. They're too busy to read books. I get it. But the sync books are worth reading if you're interested in these ideas. And the thing is, there's no one synchro mystic in these books. Each of these books has 26 chapters and 26 authors. Or one of the chapters is kind of written by 2 people at the same time. So maybe you can say there's 27 authors. Plus there's a guy who kind of edited the book as well. Let's round it to a nice round number. There's about 50 people across these 2 sync books. And they all have different opinions to each other and different focuses. So this idea that there is a synchro mystic notion, that's bullcrap. That's straight up bullshit. And Tim has had at least 6 years to go and read these books. I told him about these books 6 years ago. He hadn't heard of them at the time. I said they're worth checking out. I don't think he's read them since then. And that's a shame. Because he spends a lot of time talking about these synchro mystics, but he doesn't seem to know what those people actually say, even though they put it very clearly in their books like 15 years ago. So when he says the synchro mystic will say, well, how would you know what they say if you don't read their books? And then they'll say there's no way such a huge event could be scripted. I didn't say that. The synchro mystic book people, they didn't say that. Some of them don't focus on the news at all. They're just interested in the coincidences in our so-called real lives. But I think you get my point here, folks. This line here is a straight up straw man in an article called Straw Man predictive programming analysis. So what I'll do is I'll link in the pinned comment below to my Sim Theory Exposed Late Night Truth Lounge. And the thing with these Late Night Truth Lounges is I do the streams, and then the next day or 2 days later, I come back and I take the stream and I cut out the dead air, I balance the audio. I spend hours on these things and I publish them for free. They take an hour or two to prepare and then to stream. And then they take another couple of hours to edit and to polish and to publish. And I put them out to the world for free. Because another thing you'll hear people say is, oh, JLB, he does this and he puts it all behind his paywall. And it's like, yeah, I do have a website with a paywall. That's true. I've also published literally hundreds and hundreds of podcasts and videos over the years, totally for free, including this one, which will also be in the pinned comment below if you're interested to find out why anybody who tells you that I'm a simulation theorist, you'll see that's all complete crap. They're either lying to you or they're just uninformed themselves, whatever the case. Bull crap. And I'll link to my piece about the sync books, What a Trip, books that I do recommend checking out. Okay, so anyway, Tim Osman, he went through this Twitter exchange, and I think he did a pretty fair job of going through, like in chronological order, the tweet after tweet and his responses to them. Here's just one section that's worth taking a look at. And of course, I will link to this in the pinned comment below as well.
And how about your nukes in 2025 prediction? If that doesn't happen, is this evidence your theory is flawed, or do you only count the predictions that seem to come true? Insinuating Texas sharpshooter fallacy, which is where you have so many data points to draw from that you can just throw everything at the wall, or shoot all your rounds at the side of the barn, and then you draw your target after the fact around the closely grouped clusters of bullets. So you look like a sharpshooter, but you're only calling out your shots that hit. And this is why I think that predictive programming is a misnomer. You've got to include the real-time concurrent stuff, because we're not cherry-picking from a wide array. We're looking at what's on the news today, what's in the minds of the media consumers, Netflix or Hulu.
So those audio clicks that you can hear, that's not from me or from my editing software. That's from Tim Osman. Whatever he's recording with or whatever program he's using was having these audio clicks, unfortunately. But you heard what he said, so he read out my tweet where I'm like, okay, so how about this nukes in 2025 prediction of yours? If that doesn't happen, and we're already halfway through October here, folks, so there's only 2.5 months left. If we don't see nukes in 2025, is this like evidence that your theory is flawed because you're using Netflix and movies and all these things to make your predictions, and you say that you get your predictions right, and if you do, that's fantastic. If you're also getting predictions wrong, though, does that work against your notion that all of this TV watching and Netflix watching and movie watching is helping you to divinate the future? And I wrote in that tweet, or do you only count the predictions which seem to come true? Now, unfortunately, Tim didn't really address the nuke thing directly. And this is kind of a big deal. If anyone says that they can use the movies to predict the future, and they predict nukes in 2025, and then there's no nukes in 2025, that seems like a big deal to me. That probably should be addressed. And if you don't know what I mean about the nukes in 2025 prediction, here's a clip of Tim Osman speaking towards the end of last year. Take a listen to this.
And my prediction for the nuke is 2025, and here's why. In Dark Knight Rises, Batman tells the character who's with him, who has no mask on, to wear a mask. And his friend says, I don't have to wear a mask, I'm not afraid. To which Batman says, it's not for you, it's to protect the people that you love. Which is a line out of 2020. So the movie comes out years before 2020, and he seems to foreshadow it with that line. And then he hands the character a little COVID ball, a spiked ball. Looks like a COVID, but it's a smoke bomb. He says, count to 5 and throw this. So he counts to 5, and he throws the COVID ball. So I took this to mean 2020, count to 5, and it creates a mushroom cloud. Now, we had already determined this, made these connections that, 5 years after COVID, the mushroom cloud. Then we find out that the director of that Batman movie is the director of, or would be the director of, Oppenheimer. The one who will be credited, in my mind, with having faked the nuke when they pull it off. So I'm thinking the countdown was 2020. It's going to happen in 5 years. My prediction, based on Batman, Christopher Nolan, and Oppenheimer.
Now, I've said before, and I'll say again, if we do see a nuclear bomb story this year, if we get told, Putin's gone mad and he's bombed, he's nuclear bombed Ukraine, right, for example. Or if we hear a story that some nuclear explosion has gone off in a facility in America, or was it the aliens? Was it the Russians? Have we got some kind of fifth wall operating within the American establishment and whatever the story is? If that happens, then Tim Osman will be the guy who called it. And there'll be people coming out and saying, oh, he didn't really call it, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, actually, he did call it. I've got the documents. When people say stuff, I take note. And he definitely did say this. So within the next 2.5 months, if there's a nuke story, then Tim Osman will be the guy. He will be the man. And anybody who comes along and says, oh, Tim Osman didn't call it, I'll be like, yes, he did. And don't think I'm some acolyte of the Infinite Plane Society. Yes, I like the IPS think tank. I've got no vested interest in saying things that are not true here. He did call it. And I'll be his biggest defender against anybody who says that he didn't call it. I'll be like, yes, he did. Tim Osman called this bullshit news story right now that some nuke went off in Ukraine or America or wherever the bullshit story is. Whatever the story is in the news right now that everyone's talking about, Tim Osman called it, and I've got the documents, I got the receipts, I got the proof. On the other hand, if the nuke doesn't happen, and again, we're kind of running out of time here, folks. If it doesn't happen, well, see, it's the other way around now. It's like, well, he did call it, and it didn't happen, which seems to go against this idea that he can use the movies to predict the future. Kind of goes against that, doesn't it? And so I wrote on Twitter, this is Tim Osman, you study concurrent and predictive programming, and you're the leader in the field. You predicted that there would be nukes in 2025 based on your study of films and Netflix. What happens if there are no nukes in the next 2.5 months? Does this count against your theory? And so he does come back to these tweets a couple of times throughout the stream, but he doesn't address this directly. What happens if the nukes don't happen? Is he going to say he was wrong about that? Is he going to do that? And is that going to count against his predictive programming paradigm? That's the question. And this wouldn't be the first time that one of his Netflix or movie-based predictions hasn't come to pass. I don't know if you guys remember this, but just a few months ago, the story was something would happen at the Seattle Space Needle on 6/11 or 11/6. This is a direct quote from Tim Osman around that time, just before it, like leading up to the 6/11 thing, that at the time people were really excited about this. Lots of people were talking about it, not just Tim Osman, there were other people as well, talking about 6/11. And here's what Tim Osman said, and I quote, "We have been waiting for the destruction of the Space Needle in a 9/11-like event, and this is the result of a lot." Again, hints in the programming. You had so many movies that were leading up to 9/11 that prepared us for it, so this is happening in the run-up to 6/11. I've been saying that there seems to be some indication that the white nationalists are going to get their hands on a nuke with the help of Russia, and they're going to take out Seattle. What the hell is this? So anyway, I was talking about this at the time. In fact, I released a clip show dedicated to one of Tim Osman's streams. So his stream that we're looking at was from April 25, and then about a week or two later, I produced a dedicated clip show going through some of the claims that he was making. And I said at the time, guys, if there is a nuke story in the next 6 or 7 months, I'm going to have it documented that not only did Tim Osman call it, but I was covering his call again before the nuke thing happened. So he'll get all the credit as the guy who called it, and I'm going to have the documents that I noticed his call before it happened. So no one can come and say that I just made up that Tim Osman called it. Nope. This nuke story in the news, Tim Osman of the IPS called it, and he deserves hundreds of thousands of viewers and fans, and probably should become a millionaire, actually. If you correctly call that the Space Needle is going to get taken out by the white nationalists, or that there's going to be a major nuke story because you saw a movie connection and you predicted ahead of time, you deserve all the accolades that will come your way, and I will be the one saying, I've got the documents, Tim Osman called it. It was in that particular JLB clip show that I went through some of these quotes as well, and as you can see, I've got them quoted on the screen there. And that's because what I try to do is to focus on what do people actually say. I don't try to make up, oh, this person said this, or this person is a this, or this. No straw manning, no nonsense. Here's a direct quote verbatim. And I would contrast that with the people, and there are people out there who are doing this as we speak, who will try and tell you that John LeBon is a simulation theorist, or that he's a synchro mystic, or that he believes God put the Charlie Kirk thing in Snake Eyes or whatever crap these people are saying. They're not going to provide you evidence of me saying this stuff because I didn't, because they're making it up. They're treating you like a freaking idiot. Whereas when I say that someone said these things, look, I've got the quote, I've got the clip, I've got the documents, I've got the receipts. So I'll put a link to this clip show in the pinned comment below. And this here on the screen right now is the episode list. You can join the JLB Patreon for free. There's a free JLB Patreon, doesn't cost a cent. Doesn't cost $10, doesn't cost $33, doesn't cost $1, costs nothing. Just join the free JLB Patreon and you get access to every second JLB clip show as soon as it is published. And then if you want to support what I do, because you can see that this must take a lot of time and effort to produce stuff like this, you can support it by joining the Coffee Club, which is $5 a month. And then you get access to every episode as soon as it is published. Now, during Tim Osman's live stream, or not the stream, it was he recorded this thing, then he premiered it on his channel a couple hours ago. During that, there was a live stream chat. That's the way these premieres work. And I couldn't help but notice some of the commentary that was being left. So this guy here, Lost Age, says, JLB left the Discord I'm on unexpectedly after the Kirk event, I think because none of us believed it besides him. And then Uki replied, so that's why he was crying about fakeology being an echo chamber. So the narrative that some people are apparently spinning now or believing or whatever is that the reason why I left the fakeologist Discord was to do with the Charlie Kirk event. And you could see why people would want to believe that. Because they're also going to believe, if someone tells them, oh, JLB believes the Kirk event was real, these people are going to believe that because they don't double check anything. And then the story will be, oh, JLB left the fakeologist Discord server because of the Charlie Kirk event. So you can see how this makes sense in their minds. There's one little problem though. I take these breaks from the fakeologist Discord server and from all of the servers I'm on other than my own, periodically and regularly, because I have a lot of things that I want to do and Discord can be very addictive. And so I told some of the good folks over at Fakeologist, because there are some good people over there, I told them I'm taking another break from Fakeologist. And the last time I appeared before leaving their Discord was this episode, FAC 1582. Guys, this is all documented, by the way. Like, everything I'm telling you right now is documented. You could check it for yourself if you wanted to. And you see, that episode was from September 7, 2025. In fact, I'll even zoom in just so it's a bit more clear. Now, those of you with a keen intellect and a sharp mind will be thinking, well, hold on. September 7, that's before my Charlie Kirks, because my Charlie Kirks was September 10. Yeah. So I left the Fakeologist Discord server, just took a break from it, as I like to do, as I've done many times over the years. I did that before my Charlie Kirks. So let's go back to this comment that was left on the live stream chat during the premiere of Tim Osman's recent video. Lost Age says, JLB left the Discord I'm on unexpectedly. Well, that's not true. After the Kirk event, that's not true. I think because none of us believed it besides him, that's not true. Everything this guy wrote is complete bullshit. Every single part of what he wrote there, nonsense. Verifiably nonsense. And then Uki, who is just going to believe whatever this guy just told him, oh, so that's why he was crying about fakeology being an echo chamber. See, so this guy has just believed this guy's story and then made up his own story to add on top of it. You see, this is what people do. It doesn't matter whether the story they've been told is true or false. They'll believe it, then they'll add their own version on, like they have their own explanation for it. This is what people do. The facts don't matter to these people. This guy, Copa, says JLB has maids. I don't know if that's meant to be some kind of reference or something I don't understand. But if he means I literally have maids, no, I wish I did. I wish I had lots of money and I could afford people to come and clean my apartment and cook food for me and all kinds of stuff. That'd be great. But no. And then Infinite Plane Society says fakeology confronts the media echo chamber. Yeah, see, I'm not so sure about that. See, both Tim Osman and Ab, the crazy fakeologist, my truth uncle Ab, the crazy fakeologist as he likes to be called, they are news junkies who follow the news cycle. So right now it's my Charlie Kirks. Early this year it was my Palisades fires. And in a week or a month, whenever the next major event will be, that'll be the thing that matters. That'll be the most important thing. And they've been doing this for years. They're news junkies. I think Tim Osman has even described himself as a news junkie, which would be a fair self-description. He is. As is my truth uncle Crazy Ab, the fakeologist. They love the news, they can't get enough of the news, and then they propagate the news to their audience. They just put their own spin on it. And that spin is usually, oh, it's fake, it's 100% fake. Which they're entitled to do. The only issue is if you get a bunch of these people together on a Discord server or a Telegram or a Guilded or wherever they congregate, and they're all constantly telling each other stuff like, oh, it's 100% fake, we're the smart ones, we can make predictions, we're correct, everybody else is a simulation theorist, or they're a synchro mystic, or they believe God did it, or whatever crap they're telling each other, this can become an echo chamber. Especially when they start trying to silence the non-believers. And that's what's happened. My truth uncle Ab, the crazy fakeologist, has banned me from his YouTube channel live stream chat. By his own words, I'm the only person who's been banned. And he did this after I asked him, why are you 100% certain that this event was fake? This Charlie Kirk thing was fake? Why are you 100%? Because if you think it's probably fake, fair enough. If you think it's most likely fake. If you're close to certain it's fake, fair enough. 100% fake? Where does that certainty come from? Well, that got me banned from the fakeologist live stream chat. And for some reason, I'm not saying this was intentional on the part of Tim Osman, but for some reason my comments don't appear in his live stream chat either. I don't know if I'm banned or if there's just some kind of technical glitch, I'm not sure. And if I try to leave a comment on Calcified Lies channel, my comments won't show up there either. And so when you get to a stage where some of these people or their platforms are banning or ostracizing the one guy in the room saying, hold on, why are you 100% certain? Or is there this other angle you haven't considered? Then you're asking for an echo chamber. That's exactly what you're trying to create, actually. Get rid of the skeptic because he's asking questions that we don't have answers for. And that's how you end up with people like this who write complete and utter bullshit and don't care anyway. This Lost Age guy, I could show him this. I could say, listen, this thing that you've said, the documentation says otherwise, right? September 7th is before September 10th. That was my last appearance of Fakeologist, and I said I'm leaving the Discord server because I take these breaks regularly, and I think that's healthy, by the way, folks. If you're spending hours a week chatting with other people on a Discord server, especially on some of these esoteric or out there subjects, could be good to take a break every now and then. I could show him the documentation, he wouldn't care. He'd just come back with some other bullshit. Because you see, it's not really about the facts with a lot of people. They'll say that they care about evidence and information and facts. They don't really. Judge them not by their words, but by their actions. And so anyway, if you go and check the pinned comment below, you're going to find the links to all of the things that I've spoken about in this here video. There's one more little thing I want to touch on though. Before we get to that, make sure you go and check out this Bombversation with Tim Osman. He does his best work on the Bombversations. That's my own personal opinion. I can't prove it to you. Go and check it out for yourself. Stream or download at your leisure. Tim Osman says, did JLB's straw man predictive program analysis? Well, I think I've shown that there is some straw manning going on, but it's not me who's doing it. Simulation Theory exposed, a JLB late night truth lounge available to stream or download at your leisure. Again, available entirely for free. Link will be in the pinned comment below. The Sync Books, what a trip. I know people are all too busy to read books these days, but if you're going to start shitting on the Sync Book people, why not at least read their book first? It's a good book. Some of the chapters are kind of crap, but some of the chapters are kind of good. It's a mixed bag. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. IPS and JLB Twitter discussion on predictive programming. That link will be in the pinned comment below as well. Tim Osman and his Infinite Plane Society are the leaders in looking at what they call predictive programming. They're the tip of the spear. They're the front of the pack. And they believe they can make accurate predictions of the future. Where are the nukes? Show me the nukes. I want to see the nukes. Where are these white nationalists taking down the Seattle Space Needle? That was their prediction. And that's just one of the predictions. I went through a bunch of other things in this clip show focus. Link to that in the pinned comment below as well. You can join the JLB Patreon for free. It doesn't cost a cent. Or you can join $5 a month and get access to every other clip show as soon as it is published. To Lost Age and Uki and all of these people saying bad things about John the Bond, I get it. For a lot of people, the internet is a place to go and be angry at people and be mad at people and to treat people like pariahs and like they're the devil and stuff. I get it. The only problem is some of the things you're saying are objectively wrong. And it's up to you whether or not you care about that. And regardless, I still wish you all the best. If all of my hate watchers left, my channel might go from, 400 or 500 views a video down to like 200. Maybe more than half of my viewers are hate watchers at this point. I don't know. But to all of you, I really do wish you all the best. And I don't think of you as my enemy. And I think if we met in real life, we'd get along just fine. It's just that the internet seems to bring out a lot of negativity from within people towards other humans they've never met. Most of you have never met me. And a lot of the things that people have told you about me are objectively false. They've fooled you. They've programmed you, actually. That's a great irony. Like you've been programmed to believe things that are just not true. By the people telling you that they're here to go against the programming. Very bizarre, I have to say. So anyway, when I got this video on my screen here to go through this section where he was talking about the nukes in 2025, couldn't help but notice that his stream, let me zoom in, just for those of you who might not believe me, which is fair enough. Let's get the resolution better. couldn't help but notice that it had 242 views and 42 thumbs up. 242 and 42. Now, those of you who've read the sync books or who follow these connections or coincidences closely, you'll know that 42 is a significant number that seems to come up time and time again. Now, is the fact that there are 242 views on this IPS video and 42 thumbs up, is that evidence that Tim Osman is in on it? Because I would say no. I would say these things just seem to happen. In fact, that's one of the most amazing things about all this, is when you really peer behind the curtain, you start to notice it's not just a drop of blood on a football player's head in some TV show that most people never heard of. It's not just that some characters in a movie have the same name or a similar name to Charlie Kirk's. It goes way further than that, and it doesn't just happen on the screens, it happens in our real lives as well. Does that mean we live in a simulation? I say no. Are the people like me who talk about these topics, are we quote-unquote synchromystics or making appeals to God? I say no. Is it evidence that we live in a world of coincidences around every corner? I say yes. And that's why I'm so interested in the coincidences, both the ones on the screen and the ones in our real life. And I want you to tell me in the comment section below, what do you think about this idea of coincidences? Because I'm quite confident they've happened in your life. And if they can happen in your life, why can't they also happen on the screen? If Tim Osman isn't part of some conspiracy just because of this 24242 thing, and he isn't, then how do you know that the directors and the scriptwriters are all in on some conspiracy as well? How do you know that? Tell me in the comment section below. And a big thank you to all of you who support what I do at johnlebon.com and the JLB Patreon. Whether you love John LeBon or you hate John LeBon or you're somewhere in between, you can probably agree that this kind of material is entertaining at the very least. And a big thanks to Calcified Lies and to Tim Osman and the Infinite Plane Society think tank. These guys, or some of them, might hate me or believe all kinds of stupid bullshit about me, but they're good at finding the connections, and I appreciate that. So thank you, Calcified Lies. Thank you, Tim Osman. Thank you to the Infinite Plane Society. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. Have yourselves a lovely day. Ciao, ciao, do widzenia. Do skoro. Da momche.
I was listening to one of John LeBon's new podcasts. It's really good. The clips